Season 2 begins with a sequence featuring Katara once again explaining the story of the Four Nations and the Avatar, while scenes showcasing Aang's progress remind viewers how far he has come. The group is traveling through the Earth Kingdom when they are confronted by Fire Nation soldiers. Aang, Katara, Sokka, and Suki work together to defeat them with ease, showing how much stronger they have become since their last adventure. During the journey, Suki notices that Aang has grown considerably, something the others cannot ignore. As they continue forward, Suki tries to take the next step in her relationship with Sokka. She openly tells him that she wants them to be together, but Sokka struggles to respond. Carrying the weight of past losses and responsibilities, he walks away without giving her a clear answer, leaving the issue unresolved. The team's main goal is to find King Bumi, who has been imprisoned by the Fire Nation. Aang hopes to rescue his old friend, believing he can help him learn earthbending. When he finally reaches Bumi, however, the meeting does not go as expected. Bumi refuses to escape and reveals that he surrendered willingly to protect his people from a massacre. Rather than fighting a hopeless battle, he chose captivity. Before Aang leaves, Bumi offers an important lesson. He tells the young Avatar that mastering earthbending requires understanding neutral Jing, the art of waiting, listening, and choosing the right moment to act. Bumi explains that Aang cannot simply force solutions through action and must learn patience if he hopes to master the element. Meanwhile, events in the Fire Nation are rapidly unfolding. Fire Lord Ozai grows angry over the military's inability to conquer key Earth Kingdom territories. He strips several commanders of authority and turns his attention to Princess Azula. She presents a bold strategy for taking Ba Sing Se by distracting the city with a massive military force while secretly striking from beneath its walls. Ozai approves the idea, but unexpectedly places General Tron in command of the operation instead of Azula. Ozai gives his daughter a different assignment. He orders her to find Prince Zuko and bring him home. General Tran further complicates matters by suggesting that many soldiers view Azula as the true future leader of the Fire Nation, creating tension within the ranks. Far from the royal court, Zuko and Iroh are living as refugees. Forced to perform exhausting manual labor, they struggle to adapt to life without status or privilege. Zuko becomes increasingly bitter and eventually explodes in anger. He blames Iroh for everything that has happened to their family and accuses him of weakness. The argument leaves Iroh devastated. Convinced that reclaiming his honor is the only solution, Zuko decides he will hunt down the Avatar on his own and leaves his uncle behind. Back in the Earth Kingdom, inventor Sai warns Team Avatar that Fire Nation forces are moving through the region. To avoid capture, the group joins a group of refugees and takes the dangerous route through Serpent's Pass. During the crossing, a gigantic sea serpent attacks. The creature creates chaos among the travelers, forcing everyone to fight for survival. Aang draws the monster's attention, while Katara, Sokka, and Suki protect the refugees. Despite the danger, Aang refuses to enter the Avatar state because he fears losing control of its power. During the battle, he badly injures the serpent and is horrified by what he has done. Katara uses the moment to teach him an important lesson. Earlier, she had offered to teach him water healing, but he rejected the idea because he was focused only on combat. Now she convinces him to use healing techniques to save the wounded creature. Together, they heal the serpent's injuries, and instead of attacking again, the creature peacefully returns to the sea. The experience changes Aang's perspective. He begins to understand that being the Avatar is not only about defeating enemies, but also about protecting life whenever possible. Impressed by Katara's abilities, Suki suggests she could become a Kyoshi warrior someday, giving Katara something new to consider. As the group continues deeper into the Earth Kingdom, Sai reveals troubling news. Sozin's comet is approaching. The last time the comet passed, Fire Lord Sozin used its power to launch the attack that wiped out the air nomads. When it returns, Fire Nation firebenders will become dramatically stronger. Realizing how little time remains, Aang decides they must reach Ba Sing Se. He hopes to warn the Earth Kingdom about the coming threat, help the refugees, and find an earthbending teacher before the comet arrives. Elsewhere, Azula assembles her closest allies, Mai and Ty Lee. To test their loyalty, she forces them into a brutal duel. Both fighters demonstrate remarkable skill, convincing Azula that they can be trusted. With her team complete, she sets out to track the Avatar, believing that finding Aang will eventually lead her to Zuko. Meanwhile, Zuko wanders alone through the Earth Kingdom after leaving Iroh behind. As he travels across the barren countryside, memories of his childhood return. Flashbacks reveal the complicated relationship between Zuko and Azula, shaped by Fire Lord Ozai's harsh philosophy that every fight must end with a winner and a loser. Ozai constantly compared his children, praising Azula's ruthlessness while criticizing Zuko's compassion. Their mother, Ursa, tried to protect them from Ozai's influence, and even attempted to take them away from the royal court, but her efforts ultimately failed, leaving both children trapped in a toxic environment. In the present, Zuko encounters a group of bandits harassing a young boy named Peng. Unable to ignore the injustice, he intervenes and scares them away. Grateful for the rescue, Peng invites Zuko home for dinner. There, Zuko meets Peng's older sister Faye, who welcomes him despite knowing almost nothing about him. The family offers him food and a place to stay in their barn. Although Zuko remains guarded, he slowly grows comfortable around them. Meanwhile, Aang and his friends continue their journey toward Ba Sing Se. Traveling with refugees has left them low on supplies and money, so they stop in a nearby town looking for a way to earn enough to continue. They soon hear about an underground earth-bending tournament called Earth Rumble, where a large cash prize awaits the winner. At the arena, they witness a mysterious fighter known as the Blind Bandit defeat a much larger opponent called the Boulder. The crowd is stunned by the blind fighter's skill, but Aang is even more interested. After watching carefully, he realizes the fighter perfectly embodies the concept of neutral Jing that Bumi described. Convinced he has found his earthbending teacher, Aang rushes to meet the champion, only for the Blind Bandit to disappear before he gets the chance. Soon afterward, the group is approached by Ji Shen, secretary to the wealthy Beifong family. He invites them to the Beifong estate for dinner, explaining that the family has long supported the Avatar. Upon arriving, Aang discovers something surprising. The Beifong's blind daughter, Toph, is actually the Blind Bandit. During dinner, Toph hides her secret life from her parents, who view her as fragile and helpless. Aang tries to convince her to teach him earthbending, but she initially refuses. Later that evening, the two meet privately in the garden. Toph explains that neutral Jing is about sensing the world around you and understanding when to act and when to wait. Although she clearly possesses the skills Aang needs, she feels trapped by her family's expectations and believes she cannot simply leave. Elsewhere, Azula continues her hunt for both Aang and Zuko. Unlike her brother, she uses intimidation and fear to get information, leaving a trail of frightened people behind her. Accompanied by Mai and Ty Lee, she steadily closes in on her targets. Back at Phai's home, Zuko begins helping around the property to repay the family's kindness. He repairs their roof and performs chores, gradually experiencing a simple life far removed from the Fire Nation palace. Faye notices that he carries a great deal of pain, but does not press him for answers. More memories surface, reminding Zuko of Ursa's lessons about courage and compassion, values that continue to influence him despite everything he has endured. The situation changes dramatically when Sokka and Suki unexpectedly encounter Mai and Ty Lee in town. A fight quickly breaks out between them. Although Sokka and Suki hold their own, the battle attracts attention and soon escalates into a much larger confrontation. At the same time, Azula finally catches up with Zuko. Their reunion is hostile from the start. Azula demands that he return home, but Zuko refuses. Before the argument can go further, Aang arrives, creating a three-way clash in the middle of the marketplace. The battle spreads throughout the town as fire, earth, and water powers collide. Azula demonstrates her frightening abilities, unleashing blue flames and even lightning. Zuko fights both his sister and the Avatar's group while trying to stay focused on his own goals. Katara, Sokka, Suki, Mai, and Ty Lee all become involved, turning the square into complete chaos. Toph eventually joins the fight as well, openly revealing her earthbending talents. Her skills impress everyone, and she proves more than capable of standing alongside Team Avatar. Despite their combined efforts, Azula remains a dangerous threat and nearly gains the upper hand. The conflict finally shifts when Iroh unexpectedly appears. Having tracked down his nephew, he steps between the combatants and urges Azula to stop. Instead, she responds with a lightning attack that strikes him. Seeing his uncle injured shocks Zuko and forces him to abandon the fight. As Azula withdraws, Zuko carries the wounded Iroh away. Although Team Avatar offers help, he refuses and leaves with his uncle, once again choosing a lonely path. The battle helps Toph make an important decision. Tired of living under her parents' control, she agrees to join Aang and become his earthbending teacher. Her parents are furious when they learn she has left and immediately send Jishen and the boulder after her. Meanwhile, Aang's earthbending training continues under Toph's strict supervision as the group travels toward Ba Sing Se. Toph is frustrated by Aang's lack of progress, constantly reminding him that earthbending requires confidence and the willingness to stand firm instead of avoiding confrontation. During their journey, Toph senses people following them and decides it could be the perfect opportunity for Aang to practice. She and Aang split from the others to confront the pursuers, while the rest of the group continues ahead. The followers turn out to be Jishen and the boulder. Toph orders Aang to hold his ground and use earthbending against them. The lesson quickly becomes chaotic as both men start offering advice of their own. Despite repeated attempts, Aang struggles to apply Toph's teachings and eventually relies on waterbending to win the encounter, leaving Toph disappointed that he still refuses to fully embrace the earthbender mindset. Elsewhere, Iroh continues preparing Zuko for the dangers ahead. He introduces a technique inspired by lightning, explaining that its purpose is not attack, but defense. Iroh believes Zuko must first resolve the turmoil within himself before he can master it. Their training is interrupted when Fire Nation forces close in once again. Refusing to return to Ba Sing Se, Iroh and Zuko attempt to escape. With Phi's help, they manage to board a ferry before Azula can capture them, though Iroh is seriously injured during the confrontation. As the ferry departs, Zuko watches Azula from a distance while desperately trying to care for his uncle. During the voyage, he encounters Jet, who encourages him to join efforts to steal medicine and supplies from the ship's captain. Wanting to help Iroh recover, Zuko reluctantly participates. The plan succeeds, allowing them to secure what they need. Aang and Toph eventually reach Ba Sing Se, only to discover the city under heavy military control. The rest of their friends have already been detained, and everyone is separated into individual cells. Even Toph finds her abilities less effective within the prison. Drawing on her family's reputation, she claims the Beifongs have important business in the city. The story convinces the authorities to release the group, though countless other refugees remain behind. Believing the situation to be a misunderstanding, Aang hopes to speak directly with the Earth King. Instead, the group is assigned a guide named Ju Di. She escorts them through the city while carefully blocking every attempt to arrange a meeting with the king. Toph quickly recognizes that they are being controlled through endless bureaucracy and advises everyone to play along until an opportunity presents itself. Their next meeting is with Long Feng, the city's cultural minister. He welcomes them warmly and announces that the Omashu refugees are being provided with food and shelter. He also reveals that King Kwei is hosting a dinner and wishes for Aang and his companions to attend. While the others see this as a chance to finally reach the king, Toph suspects there is more happening beneath the surface. At the gathering, General Sung dismisses any talk of war, insisting Ba Sing Se remains completely secure. Aang struggles to fit in, while Toph attracts attention from powerful families familiar with her background. Katara's attempts to explore the city further only reinforce Toph's belief that everyone is being watched. Sokka spends part of the evening speaking with Professor Zai from Ba Sing Se University and reflects on his unresolved feelings for Suki. When King Kwei finally appears, Aang tries to warn him about the approaching comet. Long Feng intervenes, explaining that discussion of war is forbidden within the city. He convinces Aang that earning the king's trust through service and cooperation is the best path forward. Though Aang accepts the advice, Toph remains suspicious. Her concerns deepen that night when Sai is approached by guards claiming the king wishes to meet him at Lake Laogai. He is quietly handcuffed and taken away, suggesting that Ba Sing Se hides secrets far more dangerous than anyone expected. Meanwhile, Aang's life in Ba Sing Se begins with more relentless training from Toph. Before sunrise, she drags him out to continue his earthbending lessons, determined to make him stronger. Although Aang is improving, Toph remains convinced he is not fully committed to understanding the deeper principles of earthbending. As the day unfolds, Long Feng presents Aang to various citizens around the city, carefully shaping his public image. At the same time, Sokka becomes increasingly worried about Sai's disappearance. He visits Sai's workshop several times and leaves messages behind, but receives no response. Searching for answers, Sokka turns to Professor Zay, who reveals that people often vanish in Ba Sing Se. Teachers, students, and anyone who asks dangerous questions have been known to disappear. Zay warns that knowledge of the approaching comet could make Aang and his friends targets as well. Elsewhere in the city, Zuko and Iroh continue living quietly among the population. Zuko works long hours doing manual labor, while Iroh keeps watch over him. Meanwhile, Katara secretly spends her nights helping ordinary citizens suffering under the city's growing problems. Using a hidden identity, she tries to provide aid where she can without attracting attention. Jet's influence over Zuko continues to grow. He informs Zuko that a group of former Fire Nation soldiers has been hiding in old stables nearby. A mob plans to confront them that night, and Jet intends to take part. Concerned about what might happen, Zuko goes ahead to warn the refugees. However, the former soldiers recognize him as Fire Nation and refuse to trust his warning. Katara overhears discussions about the planned attack and realizes trouble is coming. At the same time, Iroh witnesses another side of Ba Sing Se when a woman publicly protests against the destruction caused by the Fire Nation. Before long, the king's guards seize her and drag her away, exposing the city's harsh methods of control. While these events unfold, Aang slowly improves his earthbending. Toph notices progress, but believes he is still relying too heavily on sight. She explains that true mastery requires feeling the vibrations beneath the surface and understanding the hidden world around him. To help him learn, she encourages him to train while blindfolded. Far from the city, Azula confronts Suki and the Kyoshi warriors. During the encounter, Azula learns that her mission has been halted indefinitely after receiving orders from Fire Lord Ozai. Though frustrated, she is forced to withdraw. Back in Ba Sing Se, Toph confronts Katara about her nightly activities and warns her that Aang's growing abilities may soon make sneaking around impossible. Toph then faces problems of her own when Lao approaches her with troubling information. He reminds her that the Beifong family has conducted business with the Fire Nation. If those dealings become public knowledge, accusations of treason could follow. The group's suspicions deepen when Judy arrives to explain Sai's absence. She claims he has joined the Royal Engineers, but nobody believes her story. Even Aang begins to realize they are being misled. Long Feng later admits that the Dai Li took Sai into custody. According to him, Sai is under investigation for plotting against the king, a claim that delays any chance of Aang gaining an audience. As the pressure grows, Sokka and Toph discuss the secrets she is hiding. Although the matter remains unresolved, they agree that larger threats demand their attention. That night, Iroh encounters a bandit attempting to rob him. Rather than fighting, he calmly talks to the man and eventually shares a meal with him, turning a hostile encounter into a peaceful one. Elsewhere, Jet leads his followers to attack the former Fire Nation soldiers. Before violence can erupt, Katara intervenes and protects the refugees. The confrontation succeeds in stopping the attack, but Jet recognizes her and calls out her name, forcing her to flee. Later, General Sung secretly meets with Aang. She reveals that the Dai Li operate throughout the city and warns him that Long Feng controls far more than he admits. Sung believes war is approaching and asks Aang to help convince the king to prepare. Though skeptical at first, Aang slowly realizes she may be telling the truth after yet another failed attempt to reach King Kwai. Aang gathers his friends and shares everything he has learned. At the same time, the identity of the mysterious masked figure seen around the city is finally revealed to be Zuko. Outside Ba Sing Se, Azula arrives with Mai and Ty Lee. Disguised as Kyoshi warriors and using Tran as bait, they approach the city gates. Their deception works perfectly, and they are welcomed into Ba Sing Se without suspicion. Meanwhile, Aang regrets the distance that has grown between him and Katara, and decides he needs to speak with her. When he returns to the group, Toph reveals that Katara has already left to meet General Sung. Sung warns Katara that taking on Long Feng will be far more dangerous than any challenge they have faced before. Their immediate goal becomes finding the spirit library and learning the exact date of the coming comet. With help from Zai, the group acquires an ancient scroll that points them toward a spirit scar hidden somewhere in the lower ring. Believing the library may hold answers capable of turning the war in their favor, they begin searching for it. While preparations are underway, Toph learns that her mother plans to visit the city. At the same time, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee arrive and begin manipulating the growing conflict between Long Feng and Sung. Elsewhere, Toph meets Iroh at his tea shop. He encourages her to be honest with her family and reminds her that change requires courage. Later, Iroh opens up to Zuko, admitting that he has often compared him to Lu Ten. He promises to accept Zuko for who he is and support him regardless of the path he chooses. Katara reluctantly seeks Jet's help in locating the library despite Sokka's distrust of him. Jet eventually leads them to a hidden entrance where the group meditates and enters the spirit world. There, they discover the legendary library guarded by Wan Shi Tong, a giant owl spirit who distrusts humans because they have repeatedly used knowledge for war. Zay convinces him to grant access after offering knowledge in return. The group separates to search through the library. Aang encounters Avatar Yangchen, who urges him to master the Avatar state and prepare for the responsibilities ahead. Toph learns from Avatar Kyoshi about the comet's cycle and discovers that a solar eclipse, known as the Day of Black Sun, will temporarily strip firebenders of their power. Meanwhile, Sokka finds a chamber tracking the movements of celestial bodies, giving them a way to calculate the eclipse's arrival. Back in the physical world, Zuko finds the group's unconscious bodies and considers killing Aang. Unable to go through with it, he walks away and later admits his hesitation to Iroh. Inside the library, Zai betrays the others by revealing their true intentions to Wan Shi Tong in exchange for permanent access. The spirit sees this as a violation of the library's rules and attacks. Chaos erupts as the group races for the exit. Jet stays behind to buy them time, allowing the others to escape. When they return to their bodies, they discover another disaster waiting for them. Appa has vanished, and it becomes clear that someone has taken him. Aang blames Toph for Appa's disappearance and spends the night searching without success. By morning, the group agrees that their best chance of finding Appa is to gain an audience with the Earth King and expose what is happening inside Ba Sing Se. Elsewhere, Zuko is struck by a severe fever. Iroh explains that such a fever can be a sign of transformation, a struggle between who someone was and who they are becoming. As Zuko drifts in and out of consciousness, he experiences vivid memories of his childhood. He recalls moments with his mother, her mysterious departure, and years of emotional neglect from Ozai. Visions of Azula, dragons, and his family's expectations haunt him throughout the ordeal. At the same time, Azula begins plotting from inside her prison cell. She approaches Long Feng with information about generals who oppose him and offers their names in exchange for information about Zuko. She then reveals another threat, claiming that thousands of Fire Nation soldiers are waiting beyond the city walls. Although Long Feng dismisses her confidence, her words leave him unsettled. When Zuko finally recovers, he emerges calmer and more at peace with himself. He begins helping Iroh at the tea shop and even asks to work there permanently. Meanwhile, Azula reaches a frightening conclusion of her own and decides that Zuko has become a threat who must eventually be eliminated. Back in Ba Sing Se, Sokka devises a plan to sneak the group into the royal palace by hiding inside large wine casks. The scheme succeeds, allowing them to reach the Earth King. Katara urges Aang to stay calm and focus on convincing the king rather than confronting him with anger. The group presents evidence of corruption within the city and tries to explain Long Feng's control over Ba Sing Se. For a moment, the Earth King seems willing to listen. However, Long Feng arrives with General Sung, who publicly supports him and dismisses the accusations. He also exposes several details that cast doubt on the group's credibility, including Katara's activities and the Beifong family's connections to Fire Nation businesses. The pressure becomes too much for Aang. Frustrated and overwhelmed, he loses his temper before the king. The failed meeting creates tension within the group, as hidden secrets and growing frustrations come to the surface. Feeling isolated by his responsibilities, Aang pushes his friends away. Elsewhere, Zuko confides in Iroh about secretly helping people throughout the city while disguised at night. Rather than criticizing him, Iroh praises his compassion. Later, Iroh seeks out the Order of the White Lotus and asks forgiveness for his past mistakes, formally committing himself to their cause. That night, Katara continues working against the Dai Li and unexpectedly finds herself fighting alongside Zuko. Despite their efforts, they are overwhelmed and captured. As events unfold across the city, Toph reunites with her mother, Sokka is knocked unconscious, and Aang reflects on Bumi's earlier advice. Suddenly, a realization strikes him. Appa is not lost outside the city at all. He is imprisoned deep beneath the earth. Meanwhile, a flashback reveals how Aang first met Appa as a young air nomad. Drawn to the young sky bison, Aang offered him an apple, beginning the bond that would last for years. In the present, that connection helps Aang realize Appa is being held somewhere beneath the city. As Dai Li agents search for him, Aang sets out alone to rescue his friends and Appa. Elsewhere, Sokka awakens in a prison cell alongside Sai, who has survived his earlier encounter in the spirit library. The two begin planning an escape using the crystals embedded in the walls. Nearby, Katara and Zuko find themselves imprisoned together after their capture. For the first time, Katara learns the true identity of the mysterious ally who fought beside her. Although she initially views him as an enemy, Zuko explains that he no longer wants to follow the path he once did. Their conversation turns personal as they discuss the loss of their mothers and the pain their families left behind. Katara even reveals water from the spirit oasis, capable of healing severe wounds, and considers using it to help him. Meanwhile, Toph meets with her mother. Lady Beifong promises she will cut ties with the Fire Nation and claims she wants a better relationship with her daughter. However, her words feel more like a business negotiation than a heartfelt apology. When Toph asks for time to say goodbye to her friends, her mother secretly drugs her tea and has her taken away against her will. At the same time, Long Feng gathers Ba Sing Se's leaders to address the growing crisis. Azula uses the opportunity to reveal her true intentions. She attacks the military leadership and declares that Ba Sing Se now belongs to the Fire Nation. Long Feng realizes too late that he has been outmaneuvered. As chaos spreads through the city, Aang discovers that Amita has been hiding him from the authorities. He soon receives unexpected help from Iroh, who joins him in a mission to rescue the prisoners. Together, they break into the underground prison complex. Aang frees Sokka and Sai before finding Zuko and Katara. While the reunion is tense, Iroh is relieved to see his nephew alive. Toph awakens during her transport home and realizes her mother still refuses to understand her. Determined to return, she discovers a new ability and bends the metal of her prison, breaking free and racing back to the city. Deep underground, Long Feng approaches Aang and reveals that Azula has seized control. He urges Aang to abandon the city and save himself. Ignoring the advice, Aang finally reaches Appa and is reunited with his oldest friend. Elsewhere, Azula confronts Zuko. She apologizes for past mistakes and offers him a place at her side as the Earth Kingdom collapses. Zuko ultimately chooses to stand with her. A fierce battle erupts as Zuko and Azula face Aang and Katara. Surrounded by Dai Li agents, Aang enters the Avatar state and unleashes an immense wave of power. However, he hesitates at a crucial moment. Azula takes advantage, striking him with lightning and sending him crashing to the ground. Katara escapes with the injured Avatar, while Toph and Sokka help secure their retreat. Together, they flee aboard Appa as Fire Nation forces take control of Ba Sing Se, and the balance of the world shifts once again.